One of the main features of Stepic, the chord sequencing function, is an often underutilized feature that definitely deserves more attention than it gets. Stepic's ability to generate chords and then randomize the order of these chords is extremely powerful, and in this ambient tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use this feature in an ambient context to create chord sequences that are constantly evolving and changing to give you the perfect bass for your next ambient track. Once we've got that done, we're going to add more context to our track by recording the output of our chord sequences, and then we'll use a granular synthesizer to take things one step further to bring the entire piece together through the use of texture and note placement to create a track that has grounding but always feels like it's building and morphing into something beautiful and meaningful all at once. That being said, let's get into it. Chord sequencing and layering. Enjoy. Big news! We've started a new podcast. Join my host John Audio and I on our new show, Harmonic Horizons, where we explore new realms and possibilities in sound. In each episode, we'll delve into the vast world of music and sound, discovering innovative techniques, emerging genres, and the untold stories behind the notes. Whether you're a seasoned audiophile or just beginning on your musical adventure, there's something here for everyone. Our guests include notable music artists, content creators, software developers, and tons more. What are you waiting for? Head on over to the link in the description to watch the first episode right now and subscribe to the channel for all future episodes as well. See you beyond the horizon. What's up guys, Chris here from Signs of Life. Welcome back to the channel, and in today's ambient tutorial, we're going to talk about a lesser known feature of Stepic, or a lesser utilized feature of Stepic here on the channel, the chord sequencing feature. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just sort of open up Stepic and share with you guys how I might use the chord sequencer, and then we're going to start building a track from there. All right, so you can think of this like a quick tip video, but what I do have is I do have a PowerPoint laid out. So we're going to be using Stepic's chord sequencer to make textures that are constantly evolving. So we're gonna just start off by utilizing this feature to make a really cool texture, and then we're gonna explore other forms of synthesis to add to the composition of our piece. And finally, we're gonna be using bass frequencies that match our chord movement to provide dynamic range, or change rather. And then my top tip is you want to evoke the feeling of the piece, focus on the part that really lights your soul on fire, and then move towards that. So by injecting this positive energy into the track, you're going to find that new sonic possibilities are open. All right, so that's the game plan here. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, I'm going to lower my tempo down to around 70 something beats per minute. And what I'm going to do is grab an instance of Stepic. All right, so let's go ahead and grab Stepic here. Now, the chord sequencer works like this. On the bottom of each of Stepic's, 16 lanes right here, you can see there's the word chord. Now, I don't really utilize this on the channel very much, but you can actually use it in really cool ways. So what I'm going to do is, first things first, I'm going to lower the step count down to like 8, okay, just by using this knob right here. Then what I'm going to do is come over and say, all right, let's play in C natural minor here today. And as you can see, half of the keyboard over here down at the bottom has turned red. All right. That means that those notes are not in the scale of C minor. If I change the note, you can see the notes are changing, right? Depending on what key I have as my root note. If I change the scale here, you can see that all of the notes are changing here, what notes are not in the chord. It's really easy to understand. However, what are the white keys? The white keys are actually in the scale. The only ones that are off limits are the red ones. I just want to make that clear, okay? So while this chord button is active here, the yellow button, this means that we're sort of focused on the first step. You can go ahead and enter a chord. So I'm playing the first note, which is the yellow one, E flat here, and a G, right? So that's the first chord. And if you hit the second chord button, now you get a fresh slate. We can go ahead and say, all right, let's make, say, a C, a D, and a G, making a C sus2 chord. And we can keep going, right? So we can now make some really interesting like inversions or something. We could do something like that, or we could do something like this, and maybe like an F, I don't know. You can just go crazy, right? And just add a bunch of notes here. It might make some interesting chords, it might not. who knows? That's part of the fun of just like, you know, like trying to make something new and make something interesting. It could really turn out pretty cool. So we can make like a C sus4 chord here with like a high C or maybe even a high E flat. There we go. That's cool. Good. All right. So now we've got 8 different chords laid out. As you can see, all of the chord buttons are all lit up. Okay. That's all we need to do with the chord sequencer. Now what we're going to do is come down to the velocity. We can roll the dice here, provide some randomized velocity just to start with. That might be cool. All right. We'll go ahead and randomize the direction. And by the way, we're going to randomize the direction of all the chords. So we're going to randomize that. Purple dice means there's no possibility that it's going to repeat 2 steps in a row. It's just going to keep on randomizing it with a unique step each and every time. And we can also do the same thing for the octave. Maybe you'll have like 1 here. So we've got kind of a random sequence going on. Leave the duration all the way at 100. We want that set. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing we're going to do is on the note length up here, we're going to slow this down to a custom length. So as you can see, these are mostly sequence lengths. Like you really don't want to sequence chords at like 1/2, or maybe you do. You can come to whole notes and that might work for you. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to use 2/1. So that'll be perfect because it's now 2 whole notes. And that's going to give us a nice long length for our chord to evolve. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and now set up a synthesizer. And for that task, I'm going to use Vital. All right. So I'm just going to grab Vital here, drop it in, and let's just go ahead and set up a basic pad here. So what I'm going to do is set up the attack around maybe 4 seconds, decay around the same. You can leave the sustain on or off. It has a different effect depending on whether you leave it on or off. We'll add some release here and go ahead and zoom out. Go ahead and look at that. Sometimes I like it with the sustain off. That kind of works too. Or you can just leave it on. So let's go ahead and just leave a little bit of sustain on here just for demo purposes. And we'll go ahead and just change the wavetable here. Maybe we'll come down and grab one of those Anomaly 3 wavetables. That might be cool. That'll work. All right. And what we can do here is add some voices of unison. Add 5 voices of unison, lower the detune. And we can take velocity and have velocity move at a random point on the wavetable, depending on where the velocity lands. So that's cool, right? So it's going to switch every single time. We can also grab an envelope here, a spare envelope. So we'll grab envelope 2 and up the attack to like 3.5 seconds. Take the sustain out of it. Add some decay, right? So now we have an AD envelope, and we'll drag that to the filter and lower its influence here. There we go. And we'll also let velocity affect the cutoff position. So just get a little velocity in there. Now we have it pretty much set up. Like this is good. I'm happy with this. I think it's gonna sound good. So the only thing left to do is hit play and see what happens. It's sort of like you're generating chords on the fly. You don't really know what it's gonna sound like until you hit play. So let's go ahead and see what it sounds like. Oh, that's good. I like that. Very cool. So as you can see, it's giving us a random chord every time. Not every time. I mean, there's only 8 possibilities, but because you have these octaves set, it kind of is generative in a way. You know what I mean? Like we haven't gotten to that level on Stepic yet where we have like randomized buttons on the scale and stuff. Maybe we will someday, I don't know, right? But this is cool. I like this. I like this a lot, actually. And it's predictable, right? It's like in key, you kind of know what you're gonna get, but it sounds good, you know? So let's go ahead and add some effects here. We can go ahead and add some effects in Vital if we want. If you're just going the free route, you can just go ahead and add some compressor, delay, and reverb. I'm gonna go ahead and add my own send effects here. So we'll go ahead and add some dual dotted 8th note delay. Coming from Valhalla delay right here. Very nice. Sounds good, gives a little more space, a little more room. And then we'll go ahead and add some FabFilter Pro R2 here. Oh yeah. Super good. I love that. Now, you can go ahead and go crazy here. Like this could be something much more elaborate, right? You could maybe add like a second oscillator here. like make it a sub oscillator or something. Just come into the Factory library, basic shapes, triangle wave, lower it down an octave, and slightly turn it up. Right? That helps ground the whole thing. I like the triangle for a sub oscillator. You could use a square or a sawtooth, doesn't matter, sine. And you could start like adding even more details, right? So like we could come over here, add oscillator 3 and say, all right, well, let's go ahead and grab a wavetable. It doesn't really matter what it is. One of these anomaly, these Patreon wavetables rather, okay? And we can use a random here and let this just kind of randomly scan over that wavetable and let it pass through the filter and just slightly turn it up. Like there. You hear that? So that's real subtle stuff, right? That's like, love that. And this could be the beginning of your piece, right? On the channel the other day, I showed this trick where you put a reverb after the chain and then crank it up to 100%. You could absolutely do that here. And, you know, maybe I might, right? I might just drench this thing in reverb entirely and just like let it go. You know, you'd still get those subtle variations and stuff, but this is a great way to just start tracks, right? And again, it could be a drone, something like that. But what you can also do is you could sample this and then process it in a different way and then mix it together. Now that's what I was talking about in the PowerPoint. So like exploring various forms of synthesis to add to the composition of the piece. So let's try this, all right? Let's try this. Various forms of synthesis. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine if we had a sample of this very thing that we're listening to, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pause the track. I'm gonna arm this track to record, but for the audio in, I'm gonna put resampling. Now your DAW may have something similar to this, may not have resampling. Ableton does. And what resampling is basically allowing Ableton to listen to whatever is happening in the DAW and record it, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. Some beautiful waveforms there. Beautiful waveforms, okay? So let's go ahead and turn this off. Delete the automation there. Okay, cool. So now we have a sample here. Now what can we do with this sample? That's the question. Now you could use a granular synthesizer here, like Omnisphere has one, Current has one. There's Emergence, that plugin. Daniel Gurley, you could do that. Like a granular, like even like a granular effect, right? So what I'm gonna use in Ableton here is I'm going to use the Granulator. Granulator 2, okay? Now this is very experimental stuff because the Granulator is like, you never really know what you're gonna get with this, right? But bear with me for a second. I'm gonna pause the track over here. I'm gonna grab this sample, okay? And I'm gonna drop it right here on the Granulator, okay? As you can see, now we have it available to us. I can press one key, all right, on the Granulator, and it's gonna sample like crazy in one spot. Now, if I move the file position, you're sort of scanning through our sequence there. Now that might be cool if I can modulate that, well, yes, I can. All I have to do is turn on the LFO, lower the time value down, and turn up the LFO amount under here, under file position. That's cool. Adjust the phase here. Nice. I love that. Very cool. We can adjust the scanning here. I mean, now we're just going crazy, right? But this is like raw stuff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we've got this. How does that differ from what we've already created? Well, check this out. What if this was another part of the actual effect of the drone? So what if we, right? What if we raise the octave here? So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a MIDI clip. Let's go ahead and, that'll be fine, a C4. So we'll go ahead and make this a 4-bar MIDI clip, okay? And we'll go ahead and make it 4 bars. Now, what if I go ahead and hit play here, right? And it's just playing that randomly. Then I did the reverb trick. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab a Pro R2, put it on a nice preset, like, I don't know, Oh Launch a Farewell. Group it. Lower the level down. Lower down its level. Put it through the pad bus, and then turn on our original sequence. You see what I'm saying? So now we have a granulized version. We have our original sequence, holding it down. Now let's add a bass. This is what I was talking about. Point number 3, placing bass frequencies to match our chord movement to provide dynamic change. The interesting play here, you sort of have 2 choices. You could either put down a solid note, or you could have the bass matching the chord sequences. Up to you. The fun way would be having the bass match the frequencies. So let's go ahead and try that, all right? Let's go ahead and try that. We're gonna grab Stepic here, and we're gonna make it, again, 2/1, okay? 2/1. Natural minor, we'll only make it 4 steps. 4 steps. We'll make this a C1. C1. Bingo. And we'll adjust some very thoughtful steps here. Okay, in the natural minor. Now let's go ahead and add vital and create a bass sound. Okay? A little bit of unison. Never hurt. Filter, 24 dB, okay? And we will maybe add a little bit of a filter snap there. Kind of movement. There we go. Something subtle. Okay? The unison's gonna provide a little bit more movement. And let's go ahead and leave the sustain all the way up. We can go ahead and mix in a sine wave here. That's good. Lower down the level a little bit. Let's add a touch of reverb to this. And now let's go ahead and start Stepic at the same time as our chord sequence. You ready? I'm ready. Put it through the bass bus. Let's go. Oh, I love it when a good plan comes together. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Right there. So we have Stepic just running. But it's making a really interesting movement change, because every time that chord sequencer goes, we've got Stepic doing a bass line. We could make this random if we wanted to, but I kind of like it predictable, actually. That was unexpected, but cool. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. You can adjust the filtering here on the Granulator. Just a little more subtlety to it. We could modulate that filtering. I mean, that's just beautiful though. Oh, so good, so good. Anyway, this is just the tip of the iceberg, y'all. I mean, we could go way crazier than this, but you saw the type of energy. Going back to the slide, you saw the energy that we put into this, right? And by moving towards that part of the piece that really ignites your soul up, you're sending those positive vibes and energy into the track. And that's when the magic happens. That's when new possibilities start to come alive. When you really focus and you start doing new things and trying new things, and what if this happened? What if this happened? Happy little accidents, right? But listen to that. That's gorgeous. I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you benefit from this tutorial, if you found it useful, if you have maybe it's opened your mind up a little bit, let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. And yeah, if you want more tutorials like this, I am on Patreon. There you'll find tons of ambient tutorials. Every single week I do a new one. And yeah, we're breaking new sonic ground over there. We've got a wonderful community and there's so much there for you. So I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. And I love this community. What can I say? You've been tuned in to Signs of Life. My name is Chris. Thank you again for watching. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. I'll see you guys in the next one.